In this video, I'm going to review the Temu hydroponic growing system. These are also called hydroponic gardens or Aerogarden. I have two units here and I've been using them for a while, so I have a pretty good idea how they function. As you can see, I'm growing some really nice lettuce here and a tomato plant's coming along fairly well. In the center here, I have some basil. What I'm going to do is walk you through my 12-point buyer's guide for a hydroponic system. We'll go down that list and compare my checklist with these units. Now I have two units here. One is black and one is green, but they're identical units. Before I go on the checklist, I'd like to have a look at the pricing of these. I was able to go on the Temu catalog and find these units for $67, and that's Canadian. For some reason, Temu won't show me US prices because it knows I'm located in Canada. That's a pretty low price. And if we look closely at the listing, you'll see that the list price on these is $416. You're getting a huge discount, all the way from $400 down to $67. That sounds like a great buy, but is it really? I decided to go on over to Amazon and look for a similar unit, and I found one that's not identical, but it also is a no-name brand like these. It also has 12 pods like this, and in fact the shape of the pods is triangular, exactly the same as this unit here. So I'm pretty sure these two units are made by the same manufacturer. The price on it was $69 Canadian. So the list price of these aren't to $400. The list price is somewhere around $70. And in fact, the one from Amazon comes with these nutrient solutions. This is a $12 value. There are no nutrients provided with this unit. The other thing I found really strange on the Temu catalog is that I found the exact same unit for $104. When you're buying things in this catalog, you have to be a little careful because they do show the exact same product several times with different prices attached. I'm not sure why they do that. Now let's go down my 12-point checklist. And if you haven't seen that, I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one. It may be worth going through that video first so you understand each of the items we're going to discuss here. Number one is the light. It's the most important part of these units. Unfortunately, the manufacturers don't tell you anything about the light. They may give you the wattage, but that doesn't tell you anything about the light. So what I did was I actually measured the light here. I took my meter, measured down 7 inches and took a reading. When I had this set to the highest possible setting, I got 9,000 lux. I also went to my lighting system where I grow streptocarpus. Now, I use proper LED lights there and they're much higher above the plants. But at plant level, I'm getting 12,000 lux. That's for a low light situation. If I crank those lights up, I would be much above that. So 9,000 is okay for growing low light plants like lettuce, but it's not really ideal for things like tomatoes, which are highlight plants. And in fact, this seedling here, which I grew under my other lights, is a little smaller than this one. It's not as old either. To see how well these plants grow, you want to look at the spacing along the stem between leaves. And the spacing from the cotyledon leaves to the first true leaves here is about ½ an inch, whereas over here is about 1.5 inches. That tells you that this seedling is struggling to get enough light. So again, these units are fine for growing things like lettuce, but not ideal for things like tomato plants. The second point on my checklist also has to do with lights, and that's this switch between bloom mode and veg mode. These units actually have 3 settings. They have a seedling mode, a bloom mode, and a veg mode. Now, seedling mode is generally lower light levels, but I usually don't use that for seedlings. When I start seedlings, I start them at the high light because these units aren't that high anyway. So now we have this distinction between bloom mode and veg mode. And what should happen in these units is that in veg mode, you get more blue light, and in bloom mode, you get more red light. So most of these commercial products will turn the blue light on when it's in veg mode, and it turns it off in bloom mode. It turns out this unit has a flaw. The only time you get blue light is in seedling mode. When you go into veg mode, the blue light turns off. And in fact, bloom mode and veg mode on these units is exactly the same. Now, how important is this? The blue light is important for better plant growth. Having a switch between bloom and veg isn't really that important. but there seems to be a programming mistake here. The lights aren't coming on correctly. And I tested both of these lights and they do the same thing. How about fertilizer and seeds? These units come with neither of those. When I got this unit, I couldn't use it because it didn't come with seeds or fertilizer. Now that's not really a big deal when you're buying these units. You just have to factor that into your pricing. Most of these units use this kind of fertilizer, this A and B mixture. And they're about $12 Canadian to buy those. So when you're comparing pricing between two different units and one comes with fertilizer and seeds, that's about a $20 value. You have to pay $20 less for the unit that doesn't come with it. Point 4 is that they should have a pump to circulate water. And these units seem to have a nice pump and it comes on periodically and moves the water around. And so it does a really good job with that. The next point on my checklist is the number of holes we have for pots. That's the number of plants you'll be able to grow. And manufacturers make a big deal about how many holes they have. They try to convince you that they have more holes than the competition. But there's too many holes anyway. So these units come with 12. And you can see that I've had to tape up the extras. You can't grow 12 plants under this small light. Over here I've got 4 plants, the 3 I told you about, and then I put a little streptocarpus in here to see if I can get it to root. But quite honestly, if I want to grow 3 lettuce plants, you can see how big this plant has gotten. At most I'd get 3 in here. So 3 or 4 holes, that's all you really need. So they have plenty of that. What about sponges? The sponges are these brown things that you put the seed in, and that's where the plant actually grows. And the roots will come out of the sponges. If you have a look at my tomato plant, you can see the roots coming out the bottom. These are disposable items, and you should use a new one of these each time you plant some new seeds. So you do want to buy extra of these once you need them for the unit. So I think it's important that these are commercially available. Now this no-name unit uses square sponges, and they're much larger than this. When you go in the Temu catalog and look for these, you can't find them. In fact, what Temu sells as spare sponges are these round ones. These are designed to go in round holders, whereas this unit uses square holders. So Temu doesn't actually sell the sponges for these. They sell lots of these round sponges, and in fact they sell these round containers as well. Now they do sort of fit in the units, so you could switch over to round one. They work all right until you try to put this where the pump is. And then the pump's in the way. As you can see, the square ones are shorter than the round one. And because this is so long here, it doesn't really fit well. You can adapt the round ones and use them in the square holder. I mean, the plants could care less what shape it is. So as long as it fits in, you could use it. How about size? As I explained in my other video, when we're looking at size of units, the base really doesn't matter. What we're after is a large light. And these units are about average size. There are some in the market that are larger, and there are some that are smaller. So it's kind of a medium size. And it's good enough to grow 3 mature plants. The next feature I look for is a removable light, because you have to clean the base of these units on a regular basis. And it's so much easier if the light comes off. And on these units, that's been designed quite well. There's a little snap in here, you just press it, and the whole light comes off. Now you can clean the base, and then snap the light back in place. A lot of the competitive units don't do that. The light is permanently attached, and that makes washing them really difficult. So that's a really nice feature of these units. Almost all of these hydroponic systems come with a lot of extra holes. And some people put name tags in there. Some people put straws for holding up the plants so you can tie your tomato plant vertically. These units do come with holes, but they don't supply any of those accessories. Now I think the labels are kind of silly because this is a lettuce and this is a tomato, and most of you will know that. Maybe not the first time you ever grow a tomato, but you'll learn pretty quickly. So the labels aren't needed. So what does that mean? Well, it means I have a whole bunch of little holes here where light is getting in, and that grows algae in the nutrient solution underneath. So you have to cover up those little holes. I'd much rather if these units didn't have any of those little holes, but pretty much all the units on the market have those holes. So Although these units have them, I don't like them. They're just like all the other manufacturers. When we compare these units to the competitor's unit, we find these are pretty basic. There's no app for your phone to control these, and there's no real extra automation. But that's okay. I don't think you need a phone app, and I don't think you need the automation. And the units that do have those things, they cost a lot more money. I'd rather have a simple unit. Now, there is one reason to have an app, and that is that all these units come with good programming up here, just like these units. But if the power ever goes out, or you unplug it for some reason, you want to move it, you want to clean the base in the kitchen, so you unplug it, you lose all the memory, which means you have to come in and reprogram it. That's not a real big deal if you remember how to program it, but if you haven't done it for 3 months, you probably have to get the manual out and look at it again. The app prevents that. A unit with an app communicates with the unit and programs it. Now, personally, if I had a choice between the two, pay more for an app or just reprogram it, I think I just reprogram it. I've had this unit running for a couple months with no power issues, and it just kept running. I didn't have to reprogram it. Some other units have more automation in filling these. I really don't think that's of much value. It's pretty easy to make up your nutrient solution and pour some in. So I don't think the automation helps a lot. These are fairly basic units, and they also have a fairly low price, so you don't get that automation. All right, that's my 12-point review of these units. Now let me summarize that up. The units are basic and they have a low price. I think they're a good buy for the person who wants to give this a try. Buy one and see if you even like hydroponics. Some people really enjoy growing plants this way. They love having them in their kitchen and handy. Once you get a bit more familiar with these, you might want to buy a larger unit, because for most people, this isn't going to provide a lot of vegetables for you. If you're growing herbs, well, you can pinch off a little bit of herb once in a while. You don't use quite so much, so it might work for that. I think it's a good starter unit. It's easy to clean, seems to work well. I've had no problems with the lights or the pumps. So provided you can buy it at a reasonable price, this is a good buy. I really wish that it came with fertilizer because you're going to need that. So if you do buy these units, make sure you order some of this on the side. Now, if you want details of my 12-point checklist, have a look at this video right here. And to see all my other hydroponic videos, click over here. Happy gardening.